Welcome to NAT Chat. My name is Harry Malos, and today we have a very special guest, author and psychologist Dr Helen Kalaboukas. Helen, welcome to our program.
Thank you, Harry.
Well, Helen, before we enter into some of the discussions of your work, tell us how you got into psychology and what were the factors that led you into this work?
I've always wanted to help people. I know it sounds a bit too much, but I've been good with people. I like talking with people. I want to see change. I want to see people improve, get their full potential in life. So from very young, I was very good in working with people.
Oh, wonderful. They do say that it takes a special person to enter the field of psychology, helping and counselling people. Is this a true statement? Do you think you need to have a type of character in order to work in this area?
I don't think you need to be special. I think you need to be listening to people, willing to be there for people, and I think that's all it takes. You don't have to be any special.
Yes, but I know you also as a person, Helen, and you're a very caring person, and I'm asking the question from the background where that you are you're a carer of people, you're concerned about others' welfare, and I'm just wondering whether that is the typical characteristics of a counsellor and a psychologist.
A counsellor, yeah, you need to be with people and listen to people and understand and try to assist them or guide them. Psychologists, not really. If you're doing research, if you're doing assessments, but you need to have good people skills.
You do, yeah. Wonderful. And just a simple question: when you tell people the line of work in psychology that you do, how do they react? Do they speak to you differently once you've told them what you do?
Oh, in parties, yeah. Well, in parties they come and say, "Oh, I've got this problem and I've got this other problem." So generally, they want to tell you their problems, their secrets. It's not good on parties because you want to be there not to hear problems. But otherwise,
what about in the social area? When you actually have a discussion with someone socially, and you tell them the line of work that you do they react differently? Are they more protective?
They're interested. They want to know what I'm doing, how long I've been doing the work, how experienced I am, what sort of type of work or people I see.
Yes.
So people are interested.
Yes, but they don't act differently towards you.
Sometimes they do.
Okay.
Sometimes they're careful.
That's the interesting part.
I've met a CEO a few weeks ago, and he was pouring the water, and he says, "I know now you're looking at my motor skills." And I said, "No, I don't." "And you're looking how good I am." I said, "No, I don't. We don't evaluate people all the time. We don't assess people.
Yes.
Not until we have to do it."
Yes, of course.
But people, some people are very careful.
Yes, and how do you address that? Do you defend yourself, or do you? How do you actually?
Defense won't help. I'll just say I'm here. I don't work after hours. If I'm for a meeting, I don't assess people. I do it only when it's my job and people are in my office and we have to do the real work. Otherwise, I'm just a normal person.
Yes.
I leave the psychologist behind. I don't need it.
And what about at home? When you finish a day at home, how does the whole day affect the family environment? How do you actually handle that?
Oh, probably the first years. The first years, yes, you try to, and you trained very well not to take all the issues at work to home. But sometimes you can't help it, especially if you have very difficult cases. You have some things with you. Now, after 25 years of working as a psychologist, I'm very experienced. I leave it all at work, go home. I don't think they will ever affect the way I am at home, or with my friends, or with my social things.
So you've adjusted, and you're able to leave work at work and at home.
Yes.
Well, that's very good, because I know that psychologists and to a smaller degree counsellors have a difficult time adjusting from work to home, especially at the beginning.
The first years, yes. Yes. After a few years, you experience, this is work, this is home, this is social life.
Okay. And have there been any times in some of the cases that you hear and help people with where it was difficult to let go, it was difficult, and you've brought in a couple of the assessment or the essence of what was going on back to a different environment, whether it's home or elsewhere?
Well, when I was working with abused women and children, that was very hard work. I did it for 3 years. It was very difficult. There were times I could carry that with me, all the things I've seen and I've heard, and all the abuse that so many women and so many kids have suffered. So that was very hard.
I'm sure it would. Abused women, did you say? Yeah. Yes, and that. How long did you last in that area?
3 years.
3 years, and it was tolling on you, was it?
It was. At the end, yes, it was very much. You need to do debriefing, you need to have good supervision. There's so much you receive, you are the receptive. You receive a lot of this, and you need to do something with that. Supervision usually is very good, or debriefing. Or
debriefing, yeah. Oh, did you see the warning signs for yourself, or were you told that by your family that hey mum, we see there's a difference now in you, or how did you see the warning signs?
Mainly at work. Although my kids were very clear, they didn't want a psychologist at home, they wanted a mom at home, so I kept all my work in the office. But yeah, it was good supervision, good management that they realized I was burning out, and I changed area. Yes. It is a very difficult area.
And how long have you been working as a psychologist, Helen?
25 years, Harry. It's
25
a long
years.
time. It's
well, you don't
time.
Look a day over 40.
Thank you. I started at 15.
Yeah, well done, well done. And what area? You've also lectured in any area? Or,
yeah.
Yes?
I was lecturing at Monash.
At Monash, yeah.
Yes.
How long was that for?
5 years.
Yes.
And I was a manager at Swinburne for quite a few years, actually, 14 years, of the counselling service. So I was supervising a lot of psychologists. And we had a lot of international students. Very interesting
to
look after students. But there were a lot of highly functioning groups. So it was very different from abused women and children to highly functioning students of a university.
I see.
Very different work.
It sounds very, very interesting. We've just ran out of time for the moment. We're going to go into a break, and we'll be back shortly with Helen Kalaboukas, author and psychologist. Welcome back to NAT Chat. With us is Dr. Psychologist Helen Kalaboukas. And Helen, I believe that you are an author of a book titled Emotional Intelligence and Leadership. Can you tell us a little bit about what does that mean? Do you need to be intelligent to have this book, to read this book?
Not at all. Although it's about a research, a training program we've done at Swinburne for 5 years. It was a training program we developed with Professor Constell, and then we provided the training for a lot of people, about 300 people, and then we evaluated the program to see whether or not we can improve emotional intelligence. The research showed that yes, we can improve, which is the good news really, yes. Because academic intelligence, intellectual, we cannot really improve, whereas emotional intelligence we can.
Yes. Okay, just for the layperson out there, what is really emotional intelligence? What is that? How can you briefly describe what it is and what it does?
It is a kind of intelligence. We know we have a lot of different intelligence.
Yes.
The academic, the musical intelligence. The emotional is how we experience, express our emotions. How good are we to perceive the emotions of other people, let's say in a meeting, let's say with someone we converse with, and how well we can manage our own negative emotions and how well we can manage the emotions of other people as well.
I see. So what I'm hearing is that our emotions have their own intelligence that enables us to actually perform certain tasks through that emotion. Is that what you're saying?
Our emotions are the way they are, but we can understand them better, express them better, or learn to manage them better, especially negative emotions like anger, like sadness.
I see.
And then, of course, that goes then to depression, to anxiety. Fear is a big emotion and brings anxiety. So if we learn to manage the emotions better, mental health, psychological health is improves.
Okay. And tell us a little bit about the program in itself. How does the program enable normal people who are listening, our listeners today, how can they know more about what the subject's about?
It basically says that we can become, we can improve our emotional intelligence, the way we experience our emotions, express them, the way we manage negative emotions, and therefore we can be better persons. And it also looks into leadership. It looks as to whether we can train better leaders. We can have better leaders, managers, and therefore we can have a better world if everybody is performing better at a personal level or at a community group level.
And how is it about regulating the emotions that we already have? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. The emotions are there. We can regulate them better.
Yeah, and not allow our emotions to take control over the situation, but actually be in control of our emotions. Is that what you're saying?
The negative emotions.
The negative emotions.
The emotions that that don't do any good in our lives. Whereas we can accentuate, we can appreciate positive emotions. We can be more positive, show that in our lives with other people. They say, and there's a lot of literature on this, that people can be more successful at the personal level, at the work level, in their social life.
I see.
So we can be better people. That's what.
So you're saying that we can use these emotional intelligence and leadership to strengthen and transform people by a program or by learning more about what it is? Yeah? How do people actually... How can people be transformed? How can they be built up in their emotions in order to be more adaptive to normal situations?
Well, first they need to want to change.
Yes.
They need to want to improve. And if they want to, that's all. I mean, as a counsellor, you know that if they want to change, they can improve, they can have a better life, enjoy life more, be more productive, succeed more in their work, in the job, whatever they do.
I see. And the program, is it a period of time? How long does the program take? You talked about a program that you developed.
The training is about 3 full days or 8 2-hour sessions. It is a product of Swinburne.
Okay.
It has all the people who have done it. They've found they learned a lot. It improved their personal life, their relationships, and their job, their career.
Oh, great. So our listeners are able to tap into some of these programs that you've helped establish and are able to use it for their benefit. But there's a prerequisite from what I'm hearing, and that is that they need to be wanted, or they need to want to transform and to change.
Yeah.
Because all of us, there's parts of all of us, as I'm sure you are well aware, that perhaps we don't like about ourselves, and we wish that we behave differently, and we wish that we were able to control our emotions. This program helps the listeners and those people who have issues like this?
Yes, definitely. I believe we should start teaching that to a lot younger ages, like primary school.
Okay.
If kids learn to not to be afraid of the emotions, to be able to express positive emotions, to manage difficult emotions like being hurt or being sad or feeling a big loss, because kids are very sensitive, then I believe we're going to have better people, better functioning individuals later on in life. But I believe we need to start a lot earlier in primary school.
Okay, so it's something that the
it's never too late.
Yeah, it's never too late. Yeah,
it's never too late, but we can start.
It gives us hope as well for a little older children.
Yes, grown-up children. Yeah, but yeah.
Could you just give me a little insight as to when you're dealing with young children? You say the program can begin that early. Is that right? Yeah.
Yes.
So, what would children of say 2 or 3 or 4 or 5? How would they begin? Maybe older?
Primary school.
Primary school. Okay. So primary school. How would they begin to use the program of emotional intelligence and perhaps leadership?
At this point, we've trained teachers, a lot of teachers, to go there and teach the kids. So first of all, the teachers need to be trained.
I see.
To be able not to be afraid of the emotions, to be able to express emotions, encourage the kids, express positive and negative emotions in a functioning way.
I want to talk to you a little bit more about positive and negative emotions, but we've run out of time. We need to go for a break. We'll see you shortly. We'll have a short break and return back to NAT Chat. Welcome back to NAT Chat. With us is author and psychologist Helen Kalaboukas. Helen, earlier on we were discussing positive and negative emotions. Can you give us an example of what these emotions, positive and negative, are?
In simple words, positive emotions are the emotions that make us feel good, like joy, like enthusiasm, like happy.
Yeah.
Satisfied, and negative emotions are the ones who don't make us feel good, and the very healthy emotions like being sad, being angry, feeling lost or afraid. Fear is another basic, very basic emotion, and this can affect us, and they are part of our lives, but at some point can be make our life very difficult, our work very difficult, or our relationships. Okay. So when they start affecting us, we need to do something about it.
I see. So what you're saying is that we can overdose in negative emotions, and it doesn't help us live. But if I asked you a question related to positive emotions, can an overdose of positive emotions also have a negative effect? Or do we need more of it?
I think we need more of it. We don't learn to feel good.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. We learn everything else but feel good from very young age.
Yes.
I think it's about learning emotions. We learn the negative. We learn to be afraid or sad or jealous or competitive. They all, and then we don't learn to feel good.
Okay. Well, pardon my skeptical approach, but I'm just wondering, when you have lots of positive emotions, does that promote like self-centeredness or anything like that from your experience, or can you clarify that for me? I'm just wondering.
Not to the expense that we don't think of other people and we sort of become so selfish and so self-centered. Okay. But I believe it's good to have good, positive emotions. It's important to feel good. It's very good for our body and our mind.
Wonderful. And what happens when we have a lot of negative emotions? What are the symptoms, and what can that lead us to?
There is research saying that it leads us to bad health.
Physical bad health.
Physical bad health.
Yeah.
A lot of psychosomatic illnesses are related to that. We cannot achieve as much in our life. We don't enjoy life as much. Our relationships suffer a lot. Yeah. So it does have a great effect.
That is so interesting. So I'm hearing what you're saying. Negative emotions can have physical effects, actual physical effects.
Yeah.
So how we feel affects our physical being.
Yes.
Yes. Well, that's very interesting, because normally when people get a symptom of a physical symptom, they never relate it to emotions. But you're saying they are collaborated. Is that right?
Anxiety is fear, and make people have difficulties in breathing. They can't breathe. They cannot function very well. Sometimes when it gets worse, they can't leave the house. They can't go to work. They can't talk with other people. All these anxieties are very related to fear.
Okay. And what are some basic steps to feeling good about ourselves and not to continue in that negative state?
Well, the basic is it's possible to feel good. We need to learn to feel good more often, to allow ourselves to have positive feelings. I think we need to teach it at a young age, or as grown-ups, we need to do that more. Physical exercise helps. Social life helps. And then if things get worse, we need to see a specialist. We need to see a counselor, a psychologist, before it gets too bad or out of control.
And how do people recognise that it's getting out of control? When it affects their everyday living? Or?
Yeah. It affects their relationships, their work. They feel unhappy, they feel stressed, they worried all the time, they sad, they get into depression.
Yeah.
The earlier they do something about it, the better it is. It's easier also to overcome it.
Well, that's a wonderful topic, Helen, because I'm thinking there's a lot of viewers out there who think that seeing a psychologist has a stigma attached of mental disorder in a psychic way. But every one of us can experience positive or negative emotions, and you don't have to be mentally insane to see a psychologist or a counsellor. Is that right?
It is very right. A lot of people confuse with psychiatrists and mental illness and the stigma of mental illness, but we all go through crises in our lives. We all go through stages that we need to talk to someone. If we have good friends and supportive friends, that's great. Sometimes we need to talk to a more specialized person. And there's no stigma. All normal people may need at some point to speak to someone else. Psychologists speak to other psychologists if we are stressed.
That's right. Yes.
Or we're going through a difficult time. Life has a lot of challenges.
And thank you, Helen. That makes a lot of sense. But you also mentioned that there is the family that can contribute positively to our well-being and to our positive emotions. How important is our family interaction that leads us to feeling good about ourselves?
Family is very important, but the lucky people have good supportive families, and a lot of people don't have good supportive families. That's how it happens.
Yeah.
We can analyze that, but I don't think we have. So if they have good families, that's excellent. If not, it's good to have good friends, supportive friends. But because people this age, we're very isolated. A lot of people feel lonely. A lot of people don't have other people.
Yes.
It's very important to reach out, to go to a group, talk to someone.
Yes.
There's always a way out. There's always things we can do to improve our lives.
Yeah, isolation, I'd like to talk more about that, but briefly, isolation, what does isolation bring to normal everyday people?
It's a trap. A lot more people these days feel more isolated. Then they get into depression. Then it can lead to other bigger problems, mental health problems. So it's important to stop as early as possible. There's always people out there, the groups.
Okay.
People need to reach out.
And Helen, if some of our viewers need to come and see a psychologist like yourself, what would be the procedure? Would they need to go and see a GP first for a referral and then come and see you? Is that how it works?
Through Medicare.
Through Medicare, yeah.
Through Medicare, they provide up to 10 sessions every year, so there's help there. Costs nothing.
Yes, so it is beneficial for everyday living, and it's provided by Medicare.
Yeah, for serious problems, of course, but there's so many people out there with depression.
Yeah. Thank you, Helen. I'm hoping that there is listeners out there who take your advice and seek help if they're feeling bad about themselves. So thank you for the program. Thank you for being part of NAT Chat.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, and to all our viewers, thank you for another week, and we'll hopefully see you again next week.